What's up everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today we've got Francis Ngannou's admission, Jorge Masvidal a bit peeved, Aljamain talking about jail, and much more. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel to see more videos just like this. Now let's get into it. Ciryl Gane was knocked out in training with an accidental high kick by Francis Ngannou, according to Francis Ngannou. It was an accident, says Francis Ngannou. The UFC heavyweight champion of the world is admitting that he accidentally KO'd his one-time sparring partner and future opponent, Ciryl Gane, while the two were training in France together at the MMA factory. Ngannou, who is just days away from meeting Gane in the middle of the octagon in Saturday's UFC 270 main event for the undisputed heavyweight title, he's made the comments during his media day conference ahead of the event. A short clip of the two sparring a few years ago has been making the rounds online for about a month, and it's irked Ngannou, especially since it shows Gane hitting him with a couple combinations, seemingly at will. Still, it's training footage, and no one knows about that day specifically. But during Ngannou's media day with reporters, he was asked about a high kick that knocked out Gane during those sessions, and this is what he had to say.
That knockout wasn't a voluntary knockout. Like, he wasn't inspiring. It was an accident. You know, I didn't intend to knock him out. I didn't go there to knock him out. So personally, it's not something that I will be proud of and like walk around and like feel like tough because I knocked my sparring partner out or knock him down or whatever.
Ngannou has since cut ties with his old gym and has been training out of Las Vegas with a whole new team at Extreme Couture, largely because of disagreements with his former head coach, Fernand Lopez. Still, what do you think of Ngannou's statements here? And who do you think will win the fight at UFC 270? In response to Chael Sonnen, Jorge Masvidal says he's looking forward to telling him, "I told you," while Dana White weighs in. Chael Sonnen this week made a whole video talking about the highly anticipated Jorge Masvidal-Colby Covington fight, how they're former best friends who fought in 3 divisions, how their rivalry has fermented over the last few years, and how the two know each other's skill sets incredibly well. In that video, Sonnen also applauded Masvidal for accepting the Colby fight, saying that it's a potential career-ending fight. Sonnen meant that Masvidal was taking a massive risk, since Colby has the potential to make Jorge look silly and could potentially wipe off any luster and stardom that Gamebred had earned over the last few years. Well, in an interview with Ariel Helwani this week, Masvidal was asked about Sonnen's comments and made it very clear how he felt about the American Gangster's assessment that this could be a potentially career-ending fight. This is what Gamebred had to say.
I personally like Chael. A little bothered by that comment, but it's kind of like it just sets up the fucking mountain to be a lot higher. You know, when I climb in and Chael's like, "I can't believe you climbed that mountain," I'm gonna be like, "I told you."
Masvidal goes on to say how Oregon boys always stick together, given that both Chael and Colby hail from the Beaver State, and that both have a quote, sleazeball style that is cutting edge for the time. But that's where the insults ended, and gave credit to Chael for at least being a little bit classier than Colby. He also equated Colby's turn as an outspoken trash-talking fighter to Chael's, who did a very similar thing once he became a contender, saying they did so because, for a long time, they fought in a very boring style, not really endearing themselves to fans. This fight has been building up for quite a while, as Masvidal and Colby have been trash-talking for a few years through the media, and it's finally taking place at UFC 272 on March 5th. It's already being dubbed the biggest grudge match in UFC history. For his part, Colby is already a betting favorite at -330, while Masvidal is the underdog at +260. UFC President Dana White has hinted that he's not surprised that Colby opened as a betting favorite for this fight, and previously stated that if Kamaru Usman didn't exist, Colby Covington would be the welterweight champion. But what do you think about Jorge Masvidal saying he can't wait to prove Chael Sonnen wrong? And do you agree with Dana White that Colby should be the favorite going into this fight? Aljamain Sterling says that fighters who pop for steroids or EPO should do jail time. Aljamain Sterling is incredibly passionate about the topics of PEDs, and he's not shy about letting people know whom he suspects of loading up on some good old medicinal acai. In a recent interview this week, the bantamweight champion said he wouldn't be surprised if Petr Yan pops for a banned substance, a claim that was refuted by Yan's manager in a long response. Still, Sterling had previously sounded the alarm on TJ Dillashaw, years before he tested positive for EPO. Sterling also questioned USADA, the anti-doping agency contracted by the UFC to test all of their fighters, saying that Dillashaw was caught by the New York State Athletic Commission, not USADA, and asked if it's a front to remove the UFC from liability. Ultimately, he believes that anyone who pops for banned substances should go to jail. This is what he told Ariel Helwani.
You should do jail time for doing steroids or EPO or any type of shit like that in the UFC, in combat sports in general. You can literally rearrange someone's career, their livelihood, doing this contact sport, man.
Do you agree with Sterling that fighters who pop for steroids or EPO should get jail time? And if you don't, why not?
But that's part of my problem with this whole thing. You know, you're talking about you don't want to fight under your contract. You're talking about, you know, he gets a piece of pay-per-view, whatever we saw, you know, like all the other champions do. You're worried about all these other things. Oh, I want to box Tyson Fury. I want to do this. I want to do that. You're the underdog on Saturday night. You're not some huge 10-1 favorite. You want to move on it. Focus on beat Ciryl Gane. Win this fight. Then you can start talking about the possibility of other things. And let's be honest, you know, Francis is in a place where he's made a lot of money. You know, he's building a big house back in his home country in Africa. He's building gyms for kids over there. He's doing all these things. You know, Ciryl Gane wants what this guy's got. You got that guy that's coming up and is hungry, you know? Yeah, nobody has enough money. Nobody's ever going to say, "Oh, they're paying me way too much. I got too much money." But this guy has made some real money, and he's doing, you know, he's out there spending it and doing his thing. Ciryl Gane wants that real money now.
Don't forget to take a second to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel to stay up to date on all the latest fight news. More bouts confirmed for UFC 272 on March 5. The fight card for UFC 272 is filling out, and we've got some news from the UFC that they've confirmed several fights for the event. UFC 272, which will be headlined by a 5-round non-title welterweight bout between Jorge Masvidal and Colby Covington, is set to take place at the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada. Former flyweight title challenger Tim Elliott will take on Dagestan's Tagir Ulanbekov. Jalen Turner will take on Jamie Malarkey at lightweight. Then Devontae Smith will be against Eric Gonzalez, also at lightweight. Dustin Jacoby will meet Michael Oleksiejczuk at light heavyweight, while Nikolai Negumereanu will fight Ihor Potieria, also at light heavyweight. What do you think about these fights for UFC 272? Marvin Vettori says Israel Adesanya fights like a Marvin Vettori is not shy about professing his animosity of middleweight champion Israel Adesanya. The Italian dropped 2 fights to Adesanya, both by decision, back in 2018, and then again in a title fight at UFC 263. But Vettori feels that Izzy's fighting style is not in keeping with the true champion in his eyes, saying that Izzy hits and runs, goes on autopilot, and does just enough to win. The last time the two fought, it was a unanimous decision for Adesanya, but Vettori wasn't happy with that in the slightest. Now, he's ranting once again about Adesanya's fighting style, and he told ES News this.
Adesanya he fights. Oh man, he fights like a bro. I swear, he fought me like a fought Romero like a like, when he knows like he can't really hurt the guy or nothing, like he'll run, like he'll score. Like, he's like, oh, you gotta beat me to become the champion. I'm not. His mentality is not like I am the champion. I'm gonna you up. That's my reign. Yeah. He's thinking like, oh, I'm gonna cruise. If he wanna come and beat me, he'll have to beat me. That's how he thinks.
Vettori just got back in the win column with a victory over Paulo Costa this past October, a fight that was supposed to be taking place at middleweight, but actually took place at light heavyweight due to Costa's weight issues. Meanwhile, Adesanya is gearing up to defend his middleweight title against Robert Whittaker at UFC 271 next month. What are your thoughts about Marvin Vettori's criticism of Adesanya? Thank you so much for joining us today and catching up on all things MMA. What do you think of what's going on in the fight world? Make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel to stay up to date on all the latest news from the MMA world. See you next time.